Check. 1, 2, 3.
The
Brief.
This is the D-Brief.
Your guide to Detroit.
Your guide to Detroit's arts
and entertainment scene.
This is the
Brief.
Welcome to the debrief for the week of July 2nd, 2018. I am your co-host. My name is Seth Ressler.
I'm Becky Scarcello.
And I'm Jag. Happy birthday, Becky.
Tomorrow. Yes. This is my favorite week of the year.
So you share a birthday almost with the country.
I do.
Wow.
Yeah, I used to think when I was a very little girl and where I grew up, they had the fireworks downriver in Wyandotte on the river, and I used to think they were for my birthday.
Oh, no.
My dad would take me. Yeah,
I would tell my kids that.
Yeah.
Why not?
And they always did them on the 3rd, not the 4th, and it's like, yeah.
Yeah, so, all right, well, we've got a great show today, covering everything in the Detroit arts and entertainment scene. We have Drew Kups of the Michigan Glass Project. This is a very cool project. I'm really into blown glass. I don't know why.
Oh, me too. I love glass.
I know nothing about it, really.
It's
but
just beautiful.
It is a cool art form, and they've got a very exciting event coming up. We'll
That
find
sounds
out
really neat,
a little bit about that. We also have one of our favorites, Delisi, host of Essential Music on 101.9 WDET.
She's so great and so
Always,
positive
yeah.
about everything.
Such a great conversation all the time, and we always learn some cool music scoop that sends me to Google and downloading songs.
And she knows it off the top of her head.
Just
you know what I mean?
blah,
Like, yeah, it's amazing. So, also this Thursday, we've got Emily Gale.
Oh,
who's
so
gonna be our
excited about
guest.
this, too.
We've been looking forward to her.
Explain who she is.
She is just sort of the originator of the being positive about Detroit. So in the early 70s, she actually opened up a store downtown. She created the first positive Detroit t-shirt, and she had to give them away for free.
And this was the Say Nice Things About Detroit.
Exactly.
I have a magnet that says that in the Airbnb over at Oak Park.
Oh, perfect.
Yes,
right
on the fridge there.
I mean, now it's just iconic.
Right.
She's the creator. So she paid us such a high compliment by being a regular listener of our show. And so that's a big endorsement.
So all those Detroit t-shirts that we see today, they're all her fault.
She was the inspiration.
It depends how you spin it. I think she would be glad that she's inspired
we'll ask
so
her.
many.
You
We'll get into this with her on Thursday, but when you have a watch at Shinola named after you, you're a big deal.
Yeah, that's
Big time.
We're still waiting for the debrief watch.
There'll be a Becky watch someday.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
And the special vinyl pressing over at Third Man Records.
Oh, yeah.
I think the odds of there being a Becky watch are bigger than a Seth or a Jag watch at this point.
Just a reminder, you can find this podcast on your Amazon Echo. All you have to do is say, Alexa, enable the Debrief podcast, and then you can listen to us every morning in bite-sized chunks. Just say, Alexa, play the Debrief podcast, and you'll hear a little bit about us. Let's get into the show. Like I said, Detroit concerts, comedy, plays, food, drink, more. It's all coming up.
I would like to say to the people of Detroit,
I can feel the difference.
Come down to Detroit.
The Detroit Institute of Arts.
The Detroit Zoo.
The Michigan Science Center.
Detroit Cocktail Classic.
The Arab American National Museum.
The Little Caesars Arena.
The Henry Ford.
Eastern Market. The Q Line.
The Detroit Derby Girls.
Motor City Brew Tours.
I think everybody can feel it.
It's a comeback story that everybody's been rooting for.
Detroit is moving.
And you're listening to The Debrief.
And you are listening to the Debrief.
The Debrief.
Debrief.
The Debrief.
All right, Becky, let's get into some of these events that are going on around town.
Yeah, first I want to say I think we've hit influencer status here at the Debrief. Yeah, I think we've really started something last week when we were talking about the train station, and we brought up the story about the thief returning the clock, the historic clock, and we gave out that very special number for any other caretakers or thieves of other things to call. And this past week, Ford's been flooded with calls about it.
Really?
Yeah. They've reported over 20 calls from folks offering up things, either, stolen or taken to preserve for safekeeping.
Right, that's what it was. Oh, I was just holding on to you.
I just wanted to
I didn't want to see anything happen to it, yeah.
Right.
So all these items from the Depot's heyday, they're making a list, Ford is, that includes such items as a plaster medallion that was on a ceiling that has flowers on it, tons of light fixtures, and somebody even has a fountain.
How do you steal a fountain?
So Ford's making this list so that they can go through and really check authenticity and the what's and where's. But they've also created a wish list of other things they hope to find.
Let me guess, every Matty Maroon building is on that list?
I think they're going to check them all out. Check the closets.
Any city can have looting. This is the only city where they bring the stuff back.
I know, right? It's been very amazing. And even people are calling that don't have stuff, but they're offering money. and all kinds of other assistance.
Just to restore the train station to where it was.
Yeah. So
That's
this is what
awesome.
it means to people. So I'm going to give the number again because I bet we'll see more calls from it. You can call Donnell Elwood at 313-322-1092 with any of this stuff that you might have hidden away in your garage.
And hang on, let me use my radio endorser voice here and say, tell them you heard about it on the debrief.
Right.
All right,
Tell them we sent you.
One more time.
313-322-1092.
Donnell
Elwood. Text, call, whatever.
Now-
No questions asked.
I lost my wallet a couple weeks back. If you have that, don't call Donnell. Call me
No,
directly.
yeah.
Right?
Send us a note.
Seth at thedebriefdetroit.com.
Yes, please.
And that is a true story. I feel bad.
I
that
did
you
lose my
yeah.
wallet. There's a $250 Amazon gift card in there, too.
Oh, I'm sure that's.
I
fine.
felt-
Why was that in your wallet?
You know what? It was sent to me as a thank you gift for something that I did. And I remember looking at it the day before on my computer desk and thinking, I should not leave this here. That's not a safe place for it.
Oh no!
I will put it in my wallet. I never lose my wallet. And a day later, my wallet went missing.
See, and you can't physically use that card anywhere. So,
No.
like that,
I know. Right? No.
The thing to do would be put it right online.
Yeah.
and then you'd have the credit.
Well,
but
yeah.
That would have been
Thanks.
the responsible thing.
Thanks.
Advice that I could have
that's
used
really nice of
3
you,
weeks
Beck.
ago.
I know. Oh, bummer. All right. Well, if you're planning a beach trip, which lots of people are because it's been so blazing hot here, and a lot of people have the 4th of July off and such, check the status of your beach first. There's a website, Michigan Department of Environmental Quality Beach Guard. You're going to want to go on that. There's 24 beaches across the state that have been closed, or they have advisories that they may be closed for contamination, mostly due to elevated bacteria in the water. So most of them are up in the western UP, but there are a few here in Metro Detroit. So Lake St. Clair Metro Park Beach in Macomb County, Chrysler Park Beach in St. Clair County, Scotch Lake in Oakland County, and the St. Clair Shores Memorial Park Beach. So
So what does that mean? You just can't go in the water, or the beach is going to be closed, period?
you can't go in the water.
All right.
Yeah. Up to you if you still want to
And
go.
when it's this hot, if you're going to the beach, you're going
You're
in the
going to want to
water,
go in
so,
the It'll
yeah.
be too tempting, especially if kids, you don't want to take them somewhere. But don't go in the water.
Right.
They come out with a
So-
tail.
So that's a safety check. David Blaine is coming to the Fox on Saturday, July 7th, the famous magician and endurance artist, as he's known.
I am a fan of David Blaine in an odd way. Like
Yeah?
I'm oddly fascinated by him. Like a couple of years ago, maybe a year ago, he did these specials with celebrities, and he just like blew their minds. And I get a kick out of it.
I can dig it.
He'll eat like a glass, like a glass you pour water into.
Right.
He'll just chew it up
Chomp
and
it.
eat it.
I do like the magic. I mean, this is the time of year when one of my favorite, it's one of my guilty pleasures, the reality show America's Got Talent. I love
see,
that
yeah.
show. And I do like the magicians that come on and are into it.
Did you see the one? I think it was on that show where it was a male and female, and she did these quick change outfits.
Yes.
That was crazy.
Yeah,
Did you see
it was
that?
crazy.
I did not see that.
So it was like this big.
It's just
I
like a
don't know,
hula
curtain.
hoop with like
yeah,
a curtain,
hula hoop
right?
curtain thing.
She'd lift it up and put it down, and then boom, she'd be in a
She had
totally different
completely
outfit.
new outfit.
And they do it like 7 or 8 times
Bunch
in
of
a row
times while
in
dancing
like
in between,
45
like
seconds.
flamenco.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So no, I'm into the magic. There was I used to live in Clawson before I moved,
right.
and there was a magic shop just a block away from me called Wonderkind.
Oh yeah, that's a famous place.
And we were looking this up earlier. I didn't realize this. There's only 70 magic shops in America.
I didn't know that either.
That's one of them, and I've heard really good things about this shop. But I
Mm-hmm.
kind of always browsed and thought about getting my niece or nephew something.
Sure,
But I
gift, yeah.
I don't know. Is it too late to learn
What do
magic?
they sell at a magic shop? Scarves? Do they don't sell the rabbits. They don't
Oh,
sell
They sell
Yeah.
the tricks and the
Yeah,
kits.
all the tricks.
how to saw
Yeah.
somebody in
Yeah,
half.
and like some of
Okay.
the cards and different things. Yeah, my dad used to work as a magician.
Really?
Yeah, he did. Before I was born, this was when he was in college, but he was like an apprentice to a magician, go on stage with him, be his assistant.
Is that how he picked up your mom? Was he like? Did he do a magic trick to impress her?
They've never admitted that, but that may be part of
you
the
should
magic
find out.
because they've been married like 63 years.
Wow.
so,
That's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
So what kind of tricks would he do? The tricks or just help the other magicians?
Sometimes he would do stuff, but mostly like assist. But he's been fascinated with magic since that day and was always like pulling quarters out of our ears and stuff like that when we were kids. Yeah,
Because he pulled like dollars out of your kids' ears, like inflation.
I wish because they could use that. So what else do we have to tell you? Oh, the famous Moth Story Slam, okay, that happens at Marble Bar. Usually you have to buy these tickets weeks in advance, super sold out. But I got the scoop for you. There's one Thursday, July 5th, and there's still tickets available.
Yep.
I think because of the holiday, it's
Probably.
not. So if you've been dying to see a moth and you keep trying and they're sold out, go this Thursday.
Buy your tickets in advance because
you buy them like as soon as you hear this,
right?
And,
as soon as you see them online.
And the theme for this one is betrayal.
This is great for people who don't know. We've talked
You've
about this
raved
before.
about this for months.
I love this stuff. This storytelling that they do. So what happens is you get in line, and if you want to tell a story, you go up to the person who's in charge of it, and you put your name. Yeah. So they always have a theme ahead of time, so you can think about it ahead of time. So 5 minutes on stage story has to be true. Right? It's not a made-up story. So it has to be something that actually happened to you. You put your name in, and they'll draw names out of the hat. And maybe you get picked, maybe you don't. You won't know.
You don't know what order.
Right. I've gone and gotten picked. I've gone and not gotten picked. But then you've got to get up, and they vote. They have judges there. I think 3 judges usually who give you a score.
I think that's right. Yep.
And then
there's a winner.
Yeah, and the winner, and they go on to the grand finale at the end of the year, and they compete. And of course, this is a public radio, so they're recording all of this, and some of these will get used on the show that's on National Public Radio.
Definitely. Cool. So the only other thing I wanted to mention is Slipstream Theater Initiative in Ferndale has a show closing on July 8th, St. Sebastian.
Coming up in just a few, you can now get a license plate with your favorite Detroit sports team. We'll tell you all about it.
Keep up with us. Download our mobile app.
The Debrief.
Becky, Jag, and Delisi. We've had her on the show a couple of times. We always love having her back to talk about music.
Absolutely love it.
She, of course, is the host of Essential Music, which you can hear weekends on 101.9 WDET. Fantastic station, by the way. That's
it's the best. It's just so stellar. Yeah.
Definitely one of my pre-programmed
go-to.
One of the best in that format in the country.
Absolutely. And Ann, we're excited because you are also doing some special stuff with Don Was at the Concert of Colors that's coming up. So welcome. It's good to have you back.
Oh, gosh, it's great to be back with you guys. And the Concert of Colors, has been, the fact that they've been able to keep this festival free is pretty amazing, and that they try to touch on music from all over the world. But one of the aspects of it is the Don Was All-Star Review. And Don started it because he wanted to give Detroit musicians an opportunity to play on the big stage. And they've been doing it. I think this is the 11th year now. And it's going to be at Orchestra Hall on the 14th at 8 o'clock. It's free to get in. Just show up. And then they're taking it to Jackson, Michigan. So we'll be in Jackson, Michigan the following night at 8 o'clock as well at the historic Michigan Theater there. But for people who don't know who Don is, Don was born in Oak Park. And
hey, that's where I live.
There, see?
What
where
street?
Cool
do you know? Maybe we were neighbors.
And my kids went to school there.
Maybe I bought his old house.
Me.
I wonder.
Could be.
I think you'd know it if you did.
I'll try to get him to tell me what street he lived on. I have no idea, but you guys probably neighbors. Just imagine. And he is the coolest guy. And then started the band Was Not Was. All these Detroit musicians, they were way ahead of their time. So much fun. The stuff holds up today for sure. Just the most amazing band from the Motor City. And so, and then he went on to become a producer. And his, the big break he got was producing Bonnie Raitt's album Nick of Time in 1989. It won a boatload of Grammy Awards, and it changed his whole life, changed her life too. It was a big comeback record for her. And it just, there were a bunch of singles from it, and it, changed both of their lives. And then he went on to produce, everyone from, Bob Dylan to the Rolling Stones. And now he's the president of Blue Note Records.
Such a great story.
Yeah.
It is a great story. The fact that he comes back to Detroit, spends like an entire week here, probably it's his vacation for all I know.
Sure.
To continue to support Detroit. He loves this town. And so we'll be doing the Don Was All-Star Review, but a few days before that on Wednesday night, this also is free. A bunch of these performances have been filmed, and now there's going to be a film, and I'll be interviewing him about the history of, the Concert of Colors and the Don Was All-Star Review and how that came to be, and talk about the, some of the highlights during the last few years. But there's a film that's going to be shown that night. So it's pretty exciting, and it's great for Detroit music and Detroit artists to be highlighted in such a way by, such a prominent, highly respected person from our town.
And you're doing that in that theater over at the DIA, right? That's a
at the
beautiful
Detroit
theater.
DFT.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Well, let Don know that if he needs a place to stay, we are actually Airbnb-ing out a room in our house in Oak Park if he wants to come back and explore the old neighborhood.
Would you make him pay for his room?
I think he's a little bit used to nicer accommodations.
Hey,
Seth. No
we
offense.
put out Nutri-Grains on the pillow every morning, okay?
No one goes hungry in
Right,
that house.
nobody. No, bananas,
no
oranges, breakfast bars, whatever you want.
No mix.
I got to tell him we got nothing but the best for you lined up.
Right.
Come to Detroit.
The
that's
authentic
for sure.
Oak Park experience.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, that is so funny. You know, he's like the nicest guy in the world too. So he'd probably let you down in the most kindest way. You wouldn't even know
Yeah,
you got
right.
let down. You know what I mean? That's how it would go.
Well, and
hilarious.
let me ask you about something else, because I know that there's
Yeah.
something you're excited about, which is the Willis Show Bar. Tell us a little bit about this and the story and why this is significant.
This is a really cool. The club just opened at the end of April, so they're now starting to fill up their calendar. But this was a burlesque club, and it closed almost 40 years ago. And it just was shuttered this entire time. And, with everything that happened in Midtown and so many buildings getting torn down, this one did not. And so Sean Patrick, he is the owner. He came here from Los Angeles, and with partners here in Detroit, they revived that place. It is gorgeous inside. And they have people that greet you at the door. I mean, it's just amazing. Oh, yeah. And the cocktails are top notch, people dress up to go in there. And I hosted an event there. LD, wonderful Detroit band, LD, and the leader is Lauren Deming, most beautiful voice. They decided they wanted to do a fundraiser for WDET. And I'm telling you, when I was in there watching the show, you could hear a pin drop. And quite frankly, go to a lot of shows, and I know, and I'm just sounding cranky and old here, but people talk through the shows all the time.
Yeah.
They're texting,
Pet
photos.
peeve. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's like, that's why people like Jack White are like, you're going to have to check your phone at the door so you can actually watch the show. And so I could hear a pin drop. Like it was just a most amazing space and a beautiful sound system. And they maintain the facade. So it's located at 3rd and Willis. And now they've got all kinds of things happening there, DJs and performances and everything. So it was really beautiful to see them, undertake such a huge project to preserve a part of Detroit. So it's great. It's great fun, too.
I understand there's a dress code as well.
Oh, yeah. Attire
Which
is a
I like
thing.
that. I like that.
Speaking of dress, are there still burlesque shows happening there, Ann, or no?
Yes. Mm-hmm. From time to time, yes. Actually, the night that I went there for the private soft opening thing, I didn't know there was going to be a burlesque lady there. I was like, oh, this is how this goes. Okay.
That's always going to be pretty surprising when you're not expecting it.
I've never been to a burlesque show.
Really?
Yeah.
We'll have to get Seth there for burlesque.
Seth just skipped that one straight to the strip clubs.
It's true.
She was great. I mean, she was walking on the bar. Everybody was sitting there because the stage is behind the bar. So if you're sitting at the bar, you're facing the stage, and the bartenders are right in front of you, walking around doing what they do. And so the stage is elevated, but it's a really, really cool vibe. But yes, there was burlesque there, and I was surprised. There you have it.
It never fails to amaze me about this city, the number of buildings that just got shuttered for decades and can now be reopened in almost yes, they've deteriorated, but it's not like anybody knocked them down and put something up in their place. They're just there, and now you can bring them back.
Cliff Bell's was like that, too.
Oh, yeah,
They opened it up and oh, wow, this whole painted backdrop is here.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's incredible. I mean, the architecture in Detroit really is stunning. And the fact that, people are trying to preserve these buildings. I mean, the Fillmore is undergoing a renovation now,
right.
As is the Majestic Theater, I believe. So there's a lot of this happening, and the preservation of these buildings in Detroit. St. Andrews Hall, they did that too a couple years ago.
Oh, yeah, that space is beautiful up top.
Oh,
the
my
bar.
gosh.
Yeah, I love it. And oftentimes you can wander up there and meet who just played.
Yeah. I mean, they did absolutely beautiful job up there. And when you go into St. Andrews now, on that wall, there are all the performances that happened there in the year that they were there. It's great.
Yeah,
it's
it's
unbelievable
nicely done.
to see who's there. Oh, yeah. They did a great job. So it's great to see that instead of knocking down these historic buildings, that there are people out there who care about preserving it, and there's a lot to preserve here. So, I always say, Seth, you're not from here, but now you're here, now you're ours,
Right?
And the thing that always gets me is, you come to Detroit and there's no lack of need. Like you want to do something, you want to make a difference. There's a place to be able to do that in Detroit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and to your point, Ann, about the architecture, anytime I've had friends or family visit from out of state, that's the first thing as we go down Woodward and get downtown. Wow, look at this architecture. It's so cool. And we, a couple weeks ago, we talked about when Anthony Bourdain passed, that was his big thing, why he loved Detroit so much, because it wasn't one of these cities that fell into disrepair, Rust Belt cities that just got repaved with all this new stuff. And it was just the restoration of all the historical stuff that he loved this city so much.
Yep. I mean, if you really go around and you take a really good look, it's absolutely stunning how beautiful the architecture was. And so, it's really nice to hear people that come here and appreciate it and look at it for what it is. And it's quite beautiful. So, you're seeing all this happen downtown, especially, which is really quite fabulous. But there's, it's like you want to save them all. And some of these places are falling into such disrepair. But,
and that's the interesting thing, too, is so many people, they're investing a lot of money. This is a labor of love. It's not always just about business. I mean, some people go to really great pains to make it authentic, which is super special.
Well, my sister is, she has her own paint company called Paintwork Detroit. And, she goes in and, does a lot of the finishing on the Fox and Orchestra Hall and Fisher, the Fisher Building and stuff like that. And she was working in a bar at Milwaukee in the Milwaukee Junction area. And they had uncovered this mural, and they called her and her team in to sort of bring it back to life. And they could have easily painted over it, no question about it. And they took the extra money and the time, and my sister went in. She said it was pretty amazing that they uncovered this thing and that they wanted to preserve it.
Wow.
Pretty cool. Yeah, it's great.
All right, Ann, while we got you here, we're obviously at the beginning of July. Any either concerts coming up that you're excited about or albums coming out that you're really excited about?
Well, there's some stuff coming up. On July 22nd, I wanted to mention this one performance in particular. So Wanda Jackson is known as the First Lady of Rockabilly. She's 80 years old, and her husband just passed last year. They were married for 56 years. He was her manager at one point in time, but she toured with Elvis Presley, and they dated for a while. And back in 2011, Jack White produced her album called The Party Ain't Over. And she's going to be performing at L Club on July 22nd. I'm going to try to interview her because I think she's just an amazing lady, and that she's still out there performing at the age of 80. And the Craig Brown Band, who's from Detroit and signed to Third Man Records, is going to be opening for her. So I think that's going to be a pretty brilliant show, actually. And she's incredible. She really is awesome. Yeah.
Oh, she must have great stories. I hope you get to talk with her.
Oh my gosh, I do too. And then, we've got Beck coming to the Fox and Janelle Monáe coming to the Fox. Those are going to be two big shows for sure. I also wanted to mention that there are two artists of note who are putting out books. And they're two female artists, as a matter of fact. One is Chrissy Hine of the Pretenders. She's putting out a book of her original artwork. And then she's got two albums coming out as well. And then Florence Welsh of Florence and the Machine, that new album just came out called High as Hope. And she's got a book coming out called Useless Magic. And this is sort of, some of her lyrics and poems and all her creativity that kind of pours out of her. She's putting it into this book as well. So it's kind of cool to see these two ladies who are so highly respected putting out these books. And Florence Welsh, this new album is a big turn for her. She claims it's the first album she's done sober.
Wow.
And she just sort of, decided that she was going to put the alcohol aside and get real honest with a lot of things. And it's the most honest album that she's done. So, she can sing anything, of course, but hearing her sing these songs, I think is going to be pretty amazing, especially when she gets out on the road. And for some reason, she's jumping right over Detroit. I don't know what the heck, playing all around the place. I know, boo. That's what I say. So anyway, hopefully she will.
Does that happen often? Do artists route through here typically? I know I used to run a radio station in Providence, Rhode Island, and we would get skipped all the time as artists were going from Boston to New York.
Right.
Does that happen here, or is this typically a stop?
it is typically a stop. Some people used to make the joke that Detroit is what you fly over when you leave New York to get to Los Angeles, but most big artists will stop here.
And what are the stops on either side? It'd be Chicago, and then what would you do?
Yeah, you'll see a Toronto date sometimes,
oh, right.
Yeah,
or a Cleveland date, and you're usually thinking, okay, they're going to stop in Detroit. But I would imagine she will on her way back. She had a sold-out show at the Fox a few years ago. It was an absolutely incredible show. She was great. So I hope that she comes back through town. And then I want to mention a couple of releases that I think people might be interested in. One is Prince. And this, although they've been kind of like dribbling these little songs out, really as slowly as you can possibly imagine for a guy that had a vault full of music. But he recorded to a cassette 9 songs of him at the piano in 1983, just before the Purple Rain explosion.
Wow.
And it's 35 minutes. And he covers Joni Mitchell's A Case of You. She was a huge influence on him, by the way.
Yes.
Wow.
He does a beautiful version of it. And so on his birthday, which was June 7th, he would have been 60. They released a song called Mary, Don't You Weep. And it is absolutely stunning. So it's going to be called A Piano and a Microphone 1983. And it'll come out on September 21st. But it really was stunning. And you think about where he was at that time. Purple Rain hadn't happened yet. And he was sitting in his home studio, and just there they all came out, all those songs. It's
That's
pretty
awesome.
cool.
Yeah. He wasn't at Paisley Park at that point, I imagine.
I think, you know what? That's a really good question.
I don't think
he
so.
was.
No,
he
I don't
wasn't.
think so, yeah.
Now they've turned that into a museum. I actually have seen that.
I went to it.
Yeah, so did I. And it's amazing and he's got a lot of pianos that he could have sat at. But I think that's all,
including a purple one that has
Right.
Sometimes It Snows in April. The lyrics are written on the top of the piano.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, it's amazing to go see. I mean, if it felt like they had just turned it into a museum and they were still working out some of the kinks.
I mean, I went just months after he died.
Right.
Yeah.
So, is this guy going to be like Tupac, where we just have vaults and vaults and vaults of material that just keeps coming out?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, Becky, I think you're right. It's going to keep coming out. The problem is, for me, is that the artist didn't have a say in what's going to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
So you really don't have that sense of their interpretation or their feeling behind it.
I don't get the feeling that Prince was picky about, the final
Are
product.
you kidding me?
Well, you know what? Here's an interesting thing about that. I think here's what he was picky about and here's what he wasn't picky about. And this came from his recording engineer, Susan Rogers. She goes, people are under the impression that Prince was a perfectionist. She goes, there was no way that he could be a perfectionist and put out the volume of music that he did.
Good point.
Because he would never be done. However, he did want things the way he wanted them. So, Becky, to your point, yes, he was a perfectionist about how it was played or the way things were played, which is why he played a lot of things himself. You want to get it done right, you just do it yourself.
Right, that's why he played 27 instruments or whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it depends on who curates it. Now it's gotten so messy between Warner Brothers and the family and lawyers and all kinds of people. And, originally Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis had offered to go in there and go and find the songs that should be put out. And I thought they should have been allowed to go in there because they knew him.
Yeah.
Right.
Imagine being a fly on the wall for that day.
Rifling
Wow.
through the things. Yeah.
Yep. And so I was disappointed that those guys weren't, given the key to that room and let them just go in and figure all of this out. So it'll be decades of stuff that's going to be released. And, would Prince have cared? I mean, it's kind of hard to tell. I guess if he cared that much, he would have,
Destroyed
put
the
something
recordings.
in writing, right?
Well, yeah, some sort of plan. Yeah. Who knows?
But then on the flip side of that is David Bowie, who has new music coming out. And what he did was curated all of this music to be released after he died because he knew he was going to die. So the stuff is just coming out like crazy. It's just all these performances, all this stuff. It's just going to keep coming out for a while. And the new thing that's coming out is it's a performance, I think, from June or July 1978. and some of it came out on Record Store Day. It's called Welcome to the Blackout, live in London, 1978, and it's a 2-disc set. And that's just the start of it. Like he had it all figured out before he passed.
Well, I guess that's the difference. He had time to plan. I mean, he had an illness where. Right. I mean,
yeah.
Seth, when I die, I'm authorizing you to release all my old radio air check tapes from like the 2000s.
Well, and we're going to take all your doodles and we're going to put them in a book too. So
that's a great idea. That'll be so
coffee
nice.
table book.
Yes.
You guys, see how quickly you guys figured that whole thing out.
Yeah, done.
Took 5 seconds.
That's why I'm saving it. That's
out.
why my mom has a box of all the stuff that I did, all the crafts that I did when I was a little kid. It's not because, it's just because she's hoping I get famous one day and she can sell that stuff on eBay.
This is awful and dark, but true. My mom gave me that box back. And here's what she said: I don't want you to have to be emotional going through this when your father and I go and find it. I want you to hold on to it. I was like, that's kind of sweet and kind of awful at the same time.
Yeah.
So have you put price tags on everything yet? Or
Yeah, 000.
Well, Ann Delisi, thank you so much for taking the time to check in with us.
My absolute pleasure.
Again, Wednesday, July 11th, you're going to be doing the Don Was All-Star Review on film at the Detroit Film Theater at the DIA.
Right, Don will be there. I'll be interviewing him that night.
Awesome.
Yep. So it'll be cool.
So we should email you any questions that we have.
Yes.
Absolutely, you should. And everything is free. So that night is going to be free, and everything at the Concert of Colors is free as well.
Yeah, and the Detroit Review is on July 14th.
Yes.
Yep, 8 o'clock at Orchestra Hall. And it's free to get in. Just show up and have a good time. The theme this year is Detroit Rocks.
Nice.
Wonderful.
So tell us a little bit, what does that mean?
It means that all of the songs that are going to be performed that night are going to be either rock songs about Detroit or by Detroit rock artists.
Awesome. And of
so
course
it's going to be loud. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna be fantastic. And of course, people can catch your show Essential Music on weekends on 101.9 WDET. And it's an absolutely, like, if you like hearing stories like this about the music and kind of behind and what goes into it all, you do an absolutely fantastic job. So people should definitely go check that out.
Thank you so much, you guys.
So, Ann, thanks so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. All right, guys. See you soon. Bye.
Bye.
The debrief.
Sports Report.
All right, Jag, let's get into the sports.
This is a crazy story. Have you heard about this Detroit football coach who is now sentenced to 4 years prison in China? So Detroit native Wendell Brown, he went to King High School. He went to Ball State in Indiana for college, and he was teaching Chinese students how to play football. And he was at a bar. He was attacked. So this bar fight ensued. He didn't start it. He was attacked. In the course of defending himself, this big bar fight breaks out, and someone actually loses an eye. And apparently in China, when you go to trial over these things, the conviction rate is like 99%. So everybody settles out of court. So the locals went to this Wendell Brown guy and said, hey, you got to pay up or we're going to take you to court over this. And, I'm not paying you. You attacked me. And so went to court. He was convicted. He was sentenced to 4 years in a Chinese prison.
Yikes.
Do we think it's a scam? Do we think that the people actually pick fights knowing that this is going to happen? Or
I hadn't thought of that, but that's really possible because the whole thing sounds so sketchy.
I mean, I think it's a scam in terms of the bribery, like pay us and then we won't.
Bar fights are one of those things that I always see in movies, and I've never ever come close to getting into a bar fight in real life.
I've almost gotten into a one-on-one fist fight after a couple of cocktails at a bar, but I've never like a bar.
Oh yeah,
brawl.
where the big scene where everybody's breaking chairs.
You see like legs of chairs flying and stuff.
And here there's an eyeball rolling across the floor.
God,
like that's
losing an eye.
Yeah.
So the U.S. State Department is aware of the situation, but unlike the Lonzo Ball situation, LeVar Ball was the father and all that, and remember all that with President Trump last year.
Yeah.
We don't have any information as to what the State Department is doing, if anything. They're aware of it, and so far that's all they've said.
Well, there's only like 3 people left at the State Department,
I was going to say, exactly. The turnover rate has
Who's in
been
charge
high.
of Chinese bar fights over there?
I think that's its own special
Way
department.
down the list.
Yeah. Okay, so LeBron going to the Lakers, that was the big sports story over the weekend. But, of course, the tie-in here is to Detroiter Dan Gilbert, who owns LeBron's former team, the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now, apparently, all is right with the world. Because I know you guys aren't big sports fans. You may remember the big deal when LeBron left Cleveland to go to Miami. He had this big special, all this heat for it. And Dan Gilbert had written him this scathing letter about how
he was so upset.
Turned his back on his hometown team in Cleveland, and how could you do this? Well, he's leaving again. But since he'd come home and won a championship for Cleveland, all was right with the world. Hey, LeBron, thanks for coming home. Thanks for bringing us a championship. Best of luck to you with the Lakers. Yay, LeBron. So I guess championships heal all wounds. Speaking of Dan Gilbert, there's a rumor going around that he wants to team up with motivational speaker Tony Robbins and buy Sports Illustrated.
Huh.
Why, you might ask, does the man who owns half of Detroit want to buy Sports Illustrated? Well, ever since Congress and the Supreme Court decided that sports gambling can be legal, information like the stuff that's in Sports Illustrated is a lot more valuable to a lot of people. Cha-ching.
Really? So sports journalists are seeing their work more valued? Or just the statisticians, at least? Or
a little bit everything, I think, because if you have the inside scoop on an injury or a player's strength or weakness...
Yeah, it's not just the stats.
Now there's a lot of money that can, in the next couple of years, is going to be behind that. And I mean, sports, we've talked about this before, sports betting is a multi-billion-dollar industry, but now with it being legal, it's going to get even bigger.
So is this going to affect ESPN, too, or other, sports information sources?
I would think so.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I think especially they'll see a lot of growth online because ESPN as a TV network has had a ton of job cuts because they've been hemorrhaging cash as more and more people cut the cord and get rid of cable, which I know I've done, and I don't miss cable at all. Some good news out of Detroit. The USA Girls Volleyball Junior Nationals continues at Cobo Center through July 4th. And what's cool about this, in addition to the 30,000 people packing the hotels and the $50 million in economic impact to the Motor City, it's got people from all over the country coming and seeing how cool Detroit is and going back to all their cities and states around the country and telling people how cool Detroit is.
I've actually seen a few social media posts of just like friends of friends. Somehow there's a mutual connection of people from out of town coming, their girls are playing in this, and they're posting about it, saying, hey, having a great time in Detroit.
Roop Raj over at Fox 2 did a story on this over the weekend, and just interviewing all these young girls saying, wow, Detroit's awesome. These French fries are great. They're like chili cheese fries. They had gone to like a Tigers game, and they had gone and seen, like, hey, look, Canada's right over there. How cool is that?
Kids love that.
So let me ask you, Becky, if a family's coming in, especially a family with girls who might be competing or playing in this, where would you send them? What Detroit spots would you say that they've got
I would
to go
send
see?
them to Feet on the Street Tours Detroit to give them a little walking tour.
All right, yes.
Well, in addition to your own financial benefits.
Yes, besides the shameless plug there.
Yeah, no. I mean, there's so much walkability now. So I would certainly this being at Cobo, if they're staying in downtown, honestly, just walking all around the parks, Woodward, going to the riverfront. I like to do the loop where you start at Rivard Plaza, go all along the riverfront behind the RenCen there, circle around, and then go up to Campus Martius with the beach and the restaurants and, see there's tons of food trucks always and movies at night and live music. You really don't even have to go very far.
And this is the neighborhood that you would not have taken young girls to.
No,
5 years
not
ago,
even
right?
for safety, because the central business district of downtown Detroit has always actually been the safest in the city by far. But usually it was because there was no one there.
Right.
But it just wasn't fun. Nothing was open. And it used to be more so that if someone asked me, what should I do? It had to be very like, you go here, you do this, that time, very curated. Now you can literally just say, hey, just walk around. You'll find some fun.
Go to Campus Martius. Go by the theaters and the stadiums.
Yeah, there's stores. There's all kinds of places to pop into. So that is really refreshing. And easier for people to find their way and feel comfortable.
Some of the girls in the store are talking about how they went over to Greektown and just walked around.
Sure.
And how cool it was over there.
Yeah,
It, everybody they talked to in the store had something different about Detroit they found, which was, I just thought, so cool.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always tell people and where I take people is to the top of the Z Garage, not only because it's a really cool garage with all the murals inside, but it's one of the best views of the city if you go up to the very top of the parking deck.
And where's that?
It's on Library Street behind the whole old Hudson site.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can just get your lay of the land up there, see where the water is, where everything is, and orient yourself. I say that should be your first stop. Go on up to the 10th floor and check it out. So, yeah.
Speaking of Detroit pride, you can now get your Detroit sports teams on license plates, or you will soon be able to, thanks to a bill that Governor Snyder signed today. So, granted, you walk around your neighborhood, you see everybody's got their Michigan, Michigan State, Central, Western,
all the
Eastern
stickers,
plates.
yeah.
But now you can get state of Michigan plates for the Wings, Pistons, Tigers, Lions, and Michigan International Speedway. So the way this works is if you want to get a plate, you can get them starting August of next year. They got to print them in the prisons first, but depending on which one you get, the money goes to the charity of that specific team. So the Pistons have a charity, the Wings have a charity, the Lions, the Tigers. And if you're a big fan and you want a license plate with their logo on it, or even for a Michigan International Speedway, you can get MIS on it as well, too.
Wait, I want one for the Derby girls. Do they have that yet?
That's a work in progress. You got to wait till
That'll be
2020
coming.
on
You've
that
seen
one.
the logos, the little martini
it's cute.
glass with the roller Derby girl in it. Yeah, I want that on my license plate.
Do you want alcohol on the license plate of your car? I mean, that's kind of...
That's true. Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah.
Tigers are home over the coming weekend, playing the Texas Rangers Thursday through Sunday. And real quick, the Pistons signed Michigan alum Glenn Robinson III to a 2-year deal.
All right, if you like seeing glass get blown as much as I like seeing glass get blown, we've got a conversation coming up that you're going to want to hear.
The D brief.
Food and drink.
All right, Becky, let's talk about what's going on in the Detroit food and drink scene.
All right. Speaking of glass, July 5th, there's a happy hour at the Glass Academy in Dearborn. So you design your own mug or Pilsner glass, and a master glass blower will make it for you on the spot.
That's cool.
Right then and there.
This would not go over in my house because I have my drinking glasses in the cabinet are just pint glasses from Michigan or Patriots or Red
some
Sox
souvenir
or
stuff.
it's all Sam Adams, all stuff I've
The
stolen.
entire Burger King collection. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, and McDonald's.
Anything you stole from a bar.
Exactly.
Et cetera.
So my wife would just be like, "No, we do not need more
get
glasses."
that.
No.
Yeah, and it's it's a little pricey, but it's a handcrafted item. You do have to bring your own beer. But there's other events featuring open flames and beer also at the Glass Academy.
How long do you have to wait before you can pour your beer in the glass?
I think, you'd need to let it temper a bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't like warm beer.
But there's
or melted glass in your beer.
I'm okay with
there's that. The 9th annual Hot Glass and Cold Beer event is coming up there on August 2nd, and that's going to have tastings from 7 local breweries. So I'm not sure how these flaming hot furnaces and drinking goes together, but we'll leave the work to the master glass blowers.
They don't do flaming shots, do they? Because that would be the way to connect it.
They did not have a mention of that, but good idea.
You don't need a master glass blower for shots. Shot glasses are easy.
That's just a little.
I'm guessing.
You could do that. No problem.
Mine would have jagged edges. I would mess it up. I know I would.
So there's a 13-year-old candy maker in town. I don't know if you've heard about her, Alina Morse. She's from Wolverine Lake. She actually started her business when she was 7 years old.
I've heard of this girl. She's
amazing.
amazing.
And she knew she wanted to be an entrepreneur from the time she was 6, and said, I want to make a company that will actually be beneficial somehow. So she makes healthy candy. It's called Zolly Pops and Zaffy Taffy. It's all natural, no sugar. Actually cleans your teeth.
How does that? How?
Apparently by raising the pH in your mouth, and it neutralizes the acid and strengthens your tooth enamel, like the stuff that they have in that Trident gum, the xylitol.
Yeah.
That's like the artificial sweetener. Isn't
Yeah,
it? Okay.
yeah. So
It
actually,
makes you salivate when you. Yeah.
yes, yeah. Actually, that's how they got the name for her candy. Is her sister was like, oh, a lollipop with xylitol, we should call it Zolly Pop. So the reason I'm bringing her up is Cranes interviewed her this past week. And reading that interview, it sounds like any big entrepreneur. You cannot believe this girl's 13 years old.
It's like Shark Tank in real life.
It's so cool. And she's created 6 full-time jobs with her company.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's sold in the U.S. and in a bunch of other countries like Philippines and Japan.
Now, here's the real test. If I give these Zolly Pops away at my house on Halloween, am I going to be the cool house, or am I going to be the one that all the kids...
Supposedly they taste great.
I think they'd be legit.
All right.
Yeah.
It's not like handing out toothbrushes from your
I don't think
dentist.
so. No. I don't think so.
All right.
And she even has a built-in giving back plan. So 10% of her profits and $1 million of her products she donates to promote oral health education to kids.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So
amazing.
she would at 13. She would qualify as Generation Z, wouldn't she? Because
I believe so,
There's
yeah.
all this stuff about the generation after millennials, Generation
Right,
Z,
right. She'd be just on the
and how in tune to like causes they are, and
that is
how
just natural. Like,
they always want to give back and do something for the world.
Betterment.
And, yeah, and for as much crap as millennials take,
Right.
this Gen Z after them seems to be really plugged into social causes. So what a special young lady.
Yeah, really cool. So an opening I'm super excited about, She-Wolf. It opened on Friday in the Cass Corridor. This is Chef Anthony Lombardo's place. He was previously at Baco.
Mm-hmm.
You guys, I went to one of his pop-ups. It was a brunch. It was just mouth-watering, delicious, amazing.
What'd you have?
It was, like I said, a brunch. So there was a pasta dish, but it was like a carbonara with the bacon and the egg in the pasta dish. He had a really like.
I've never had bacon and egg pasta.
It was. I mean,
that's interesting.
You got to try it.
That's a brunch of champions right
Creamy.
there.
Right?
And then he had like a crepe dish and a panna cotta. Everything was cream colored, which sounds kind of strange, but it just worked. It was super stylish.
Okay.
Yeah. So I've been really excited for this to open, highly anticipated. So it's Italian, of course. Specifically, he says contemporary specialties inspired by old Rome. So kind of the Roman side of Italian. I'm actually booked a reservation for Saturday, so next week I'll let you know how it is.
Good for you.
Pasta's the star of the menu. He's got 10 styles of it on the menu, and this is crazy. He mills his own organic heritage whole wheat flour every day.
Whoa.
So not only making his own pasta, but milling the flour.
That was like when we had Peter Croce in last week, and he was talking about this Detroit moment where he had the lady had the laundry basket full
With
of
the
greens going to the back of the
this
restaurant. I
is
just picked these.
The whole process. So, and I'm excited because I'm gluten-free, so a lot of times I can't eat pasta, but he's going to have gluten-free available.
Great.
And he's also featuring dishes from other regions of Italy. I liked what he said on the website. Talented chefs want to cook in Rome, just like talented chefs in the Midwest want to cook in Detroit.
He's saying nice things about Detroit.
Yeah, like that. We've gotten to that point where chefs want to come here to cook. You know,
It's a cool factor.
It's
That's
super
awesome.
Cool. Yeah. So, a future opening. It's not going to be till this fall, but it's called Sid Gold's Request Room, which is actually a place in New York. The owners want to open one here. And it's a cool story because it's just because of a customer came into this place in New York and said, you know, you guys really should check out Detroit. So it's two partners, one of whom is Joe McGinty, who's the former keyboardist for the Psychedelic Furs.
Okay.
And his partner is Paul Devitt, and he's the one who came to Detroit, checked it out. He hadn't been here for 40 years and came in and was like, okay, I'm opening one here. So it's going to be a live piano karaoke bar.
Really?
So you can go in and request your song. And
Love
a
My
pianist
Way.
will-
I'm going to be the first
I know,
one.
right?
Yep.
So I have to ask, would you guys sing this way? Would you do it?
I have a 6-drink minimum for karaoke.
Six drink? Okay. Well, they're going to have lots of craft cocktails and
Okay.
yummy stuff.
Let me tell you
Can
something.
you request a song and have the piano players sing it, and you don't have to sing? Or
Oh,
no?
maybe you, yeah. Maybe
Because
you
I'm
I'm
tone
a
deaf.
terrible
I'm
singer. You
tone
don't want
deaf,
me
yeah.
singing.
If I got sent to hell, and there's a very good chance that I will after I die, it's going to be karaoke night every night.
Oh, so all right. Well, maybe
Will you
Karaoke fan.
participate then?
I'll probably be forced to.
you'd have to in hell. I
Yes,
mean, it's
I mean,
like,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, if you had to do one go-to karaoke song, Seth, if you had to do one.
If I had to do
Yeah.
one, it'd be the song we were singing last week before the podcast. It'd be Bizarre Inc.
Oh,
I'm going to get you. Yes,
I'm gonna
I-
get you.
I'm gonna get you. Yes, sir.
Becky?
Yo, DJ, pump this party.
I'd probably go with just something stupid like "I Will Survive" or like a lady anthem that you can just kind of like belt your way through that doesn't require a lot of nuance.
Why waste your time?
I would be Piano Man from Billy Joel.
Well,
You know
that's
you're
a
gonna be
tough
mine.
one.
It's a tough
And if you
because it's
butcher
6 minutes long.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
just
forget
don't
that.
know.
Mine's got like 7 words.
Okay, well, when this place opens in the fall, let's go and make fun of all the people doing karaoke.
All right, I can do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's just mean.
And they're going to have burlesque, too. Speaking
Ooh.
of burlesque.
Wait, so piano bar, karaoke, and burlesque. Can I get
burlesque.
in line now?
I know. I'm so excited.
Show field trip.
Yeah, Sid Gold's Request Room.
All right, coming up in just a few, we'll take a look at the concerts that are coming to town.
The D. Brief.
All right, Becky Jag, I like blown glass. I just think it's a cool art form.
Glass is one of my favorite types of art.
So much you can do with it, yeah.
And I don't know much about it beyond Dale Chihuly. He's kind of the only guy that I know.
I mean, he's the creme de la
You know
creme.
who he is?
No, all I know about blown glass is the shops that I visited in high school.
Oh, no. Have you been to Las Vegas? Have you seen the ceiling of the Bellagio?
Oh, yeah.
That's Chihuly. That very, vibrant, colorful, his installations.
Oh, incredible.
If you ever go to a really expensive hotel, high-end hotel, and you see blown glass in there, it's probably a Chihuly.
There was an amazing exhibit of his at the DIA years ago that was literally glass forests.
Oh, wow.
So you would walk through immersive, just incredible.
I saw one of those at the Rhode Island School of Design. It was amazing. And he also was up in Tacoma, Washington, where he's got a glass
He's
museum.
got a museum. Yeah,
up there.
Yeah.
Very cool. But there's a lot of glass blowing happening right here in Detroit.
Yeah, it's a big thing.
Yeah, including a very cool event coming up called the Michigan Glass Project. It's happening later this month, July 20th through the 22nd at the Russell Industrial Center. You know this building, right? You see it as you go down the highway, and it's got the big... Is that a lion? Is that what it is? It's a lion with wings.
With wings,
What do you call this? Some sort of mythical beast?
Right. Some people think it's combining our sports teams.
Yeah. But, this building, which looks abandoned. Yeah, I didn't actually know what was in there.
It's gone through different troubles.
And yes. And this is another one of those that somebody owns and isn't taken care of. But there's been a lot of artists in there over the years.
Yeah.
I think
Lots of
there was
studios.
Up to 200 at one point.
And many of them had to leave. So
right. Because there were some, safety concerns and city cracking down and things like that. But I headed over there because there's glass blowing that's still happening in the...
Yeah, this was really cool because this guy commented on some of our stuff on Facebook. And I followed up on him. And when I saw what it was, I'm like, Seth, you got to go interview this guy.
So I did. His name is Drew Kups, and he is the co-founder of the Michigan Glass Project. And I asked him to tell us, what is the Michigan Glass Project?
So we take this ginormous warehouse space and fill it with 80 vendors, DJs, a giant stage outside, live graffiti art, all sorts of arts and entertainment. And on top of that, we have 40 glass blowing torches set up, a mobile soft glass studio, stained glass, neon, cold working, all kinds of glass making going on live in front of the audience for 3 days. All of it benefits elementary art programming in Detroit schools via Art Road nonprofit. And we aim to raise about $125,000 this year to donate to Art Road.
$125,000 they're going to raise over 3 days of glass blowing.
That's
amazing.
And they said last year the reason they were able to do it is because one piece sold for $75,000.
Yeah, one big ticket item, you're good to go.
What?
Yeah. So they said this year that artist isn't coming back. So this year they expect the highest piece to go between 30, 40,000, something like that. But still, that's a lot.
I mean, there are some big time glass collectors that it's very valued.
What's Dan Gilbert doing that?
I know. He's probably doing that. He's probably sending LeBron, a nice glass sculpture.
Piece.
A nice going away present.
Yeah.
We get Dan and Chris Illich to outbid each other for some of these.
Yes.
I think this is great because they could just be doing this and people would come anyway just because it's super cool. But they're doing it and giving all the money to the schools.
Well,
That's awesome.
And here's how it works. See, the whole 3 days culminates in a silent auction.
Throughout the weekend, these artists are making these pieces, and they put them in an oven to anneal, and the next day they're ready. We take those pieces, put them on 8-foot plastic tables, about 15 to 20 of them, and line it with silent auction papers in front of them. And what that does is it gives the crowd the ability to put a bid on a piece. And on Sunday we close it out, and that's where we make most of our money for the event. Like it's literally tons of money in boxes that we give to the kids.
Yeah.
Money in boxes. Wow.
So
it's like robbing a bank.
That's the kind of what I thought when he said that. I thought, I don't know if I'd say that out loud.
Right. Boxes of money.
We put it in a vault that's buried deep beneath the Russell Industrial Center. And all this money goes to charity. Charity is called Art Road. And so I asked Drew a little bit about it.
Art Road is led by Carol and Steven, and what they do is they bring elementary art programs in public schools in Detroit, and they provide teachers, supplies, all that jazz. And right now I think they're covering 9 schools in the district, and it's really refreshing to go into the classroom and see the kids light up in the art. A while back we brought a torch into the classroom, and just simply to show the kids like melting glass. And I had planned this big demonstration and making a piece, and when it boiled down to is the kids were so impressed with just the glass melting and being pulled across the room. That was simply the demonstration.
That's kind of a funny image.
It is, yeah.
Just the kids. Do it again. Do it again.
Yeah, please stretch
One
the
more
glass.
time.
Yeah.
Something we talked about on the show before is the need for art and music in
Exactly.
schools, and the fact that they're giving back and they're creating. And again, some of these kids might not be exposed to much art at all, and they're so blown away. No pun intended, by what they're doing with these guys. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I had read a story I'll tell you later, but one of the points I pulled out of it is that of the 81 public schools in Detroit, only like 24% of them have art class.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm actually surprised it's that high.
Yeah, so am I. Yeah. So am I. Well, I asked Drew because, like I said, I really enjoy blown glass, but I don't know much about it. And so I asked him, I said, when you're watching somebody blow glass, what are the things that you should look for?
The relationship with three things: heat, gravity, and centrifugal force. If you notice, we'll be turning the glass as it's hot to kind of keep it in place, or like keep it from wheeling out of control. It's a material in motion, so you have to constantly keep it moving so it doesn't slump or gather in an undesirable fashion. The other thing to look out for is we have some nationally known artists coming out, and keep an eye on the finishing pieces. Notice how they come in at it, the timing, just the level of intricacy, and the basic techniques it takes to make the pieces. The process is amazing.
Yeah, I love to watch it.
Oh, for sure. I used to work at an art gallery in Pontiac, and a lot of our artists were glass artists, and watching them work was it was like poetry in motion, and just how they know how to turn it and how much heat to apply and how much air to blow into it. It's just amazing.
I never knew about the centrifugal force. Like heat makes heat, that makes sense. Gravity makes sense. And now I think about in my mind's eye having seen it being turned like that. Yeah.
Well, and sometimes they purposely don't, and they do call that slumped glass.
Right.
Like you said, slumped. So you will see some things that are meant to be slumped glass. But yeah, it's like this blend of art and science that's super cool.
So we will often talk about the Detroit scene when it comes to certain forms of art. Like we'll talk about the Detroit music scene, or we'll talk about the Detroit
street art,
comedy scene, whatever it is. So I asked, what is the Detroit glass blowing scene like?
There's a pretty large scene here in Detroit, and it's mostly a mix of glass media. There's guys who are working furnace work, like the old Italian style. There's guys on torches like us who use propane and oxygen and Pyrex glass. There's stained glass workers. We call them bead ballers, ladies who are out there making the most extravagant beads you've ever seen. So there's a wide variety of artists in Detroit, and we all band together to build the project.
I want to be a bead baller.
I know.
That sounds badass.
Bead baller. Yeah, I'm a baller.
I'm a bead baller.
Of beads.
I feel like you have to walk in like in a leather jacket. Like
yes.
Yeah. Sunglasses.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, final question I asked is, look, if I want to get started in this, how do you actually get started blowing glass?
One good place to start is come to the project and see the process and see if you're comfortable with that. A lot of people say they want to blow glass, but when you put them in front of a flame, they lose that interest. It's hot, it's uncomfortable, it's grindy, but there are several studios that you can learn at, and one of them here at the Russell is called Michigan Hot Glass. And Albert Young, he's a CCSOG. He's a nationally known artist, makes these beautiful sculptures and very intricate offhand glass works. He'd be the guy I would talk to. That or our friends Mark and Adam over at the Juice Box. Those guys are amazing contemporary soft glass artists.
I love how Becky's been nodding her head as he's been name dropping.
All these guys. Yeah.
Him. Yeah.
You blown glass with them before?
No, not myself, but I know who they are and their work.
I don't know if I could stand the heat. I feel like this is one of those things I think I could do until I walked up. I was like,
There's been so many times I've almost pushed the button on signing up for class, whether it be at Greenfield Village or, we talked about Glass Academy, and there's another place in Pontiac and Furnace Hot Glass. And I just don't think
I feel like I would be afraid of it, like just doing it the wrong way. And
I know, me too. I'm too much
of
of a perfectionist about it.
All right, well, baby steps. First thing to do, head over to the Michigan Glass Project. It's happening July 20th through the 22nd over at the Russell Industrial Center. And you can find all the details over at michiganglassproject.com. Coming up in a few, we'll talk about the stand-up comedy shows that are coming to town.
This is the D.
concert calendar.
All right, Becky, what's going on in Detroit concerts?
Okay, well, first, of course, we got the 4th of July this Wednesday.
Woo!
The DSO, Detroit Symphony Orchestra, Salute to America at Greenfield Village. This is an annual favorite. They're playing jointly with the U.S. Army Field Band and Soldiers Chorus. And then, of course, there's fireworks at the end. So great time. They do a couple nights a year. This would be the last night, and there are tickets available. So if you need something to do on the 4th, it's wonderful.
America.
The DSO is going to be busy. Thursday, July 5th, they're playing another show with Roger Daltrey at Meadowbrook.
Of The Who.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I know.
You know, how do you get to the point in your career as an aging rock star where you get to go out and play with just anybody you want and suddenly it's deemed cool?
Yeah.
Is there a minimum number of records sold? Like you have to sell like
There's gotta
30 million
be
records
some
before you can play the symphony?
recognition of your accomplishments. Yeah. And I think it's just in general become, I don't know, sort of a trend or a popular thing that's
think about it,
with symphonies all over. So. Also on Thursday, July 5th, The War on Drugs at Royal Oak Music Theater.
They actually named a band after the war on drugs.
Yeah.
All right.
It's a cool band. I like their music. Friday, July 6th, Styx and Joan Jett and the Blackhearts at DTE.
Awesome.
Also, Beck is at the Fox. And I've been watching other friends in other cities, seeing him. I guess it's an incredible show.
Really?
I love Beck.
He's great. He's like just super cool.
But I've only seen him in a stadium setting, and actually it was opening for the Dave Matthews Band. I would love to see him in a setting
Yeah, the
like
Fox
this.
will be a good venue for him. Saturday, July 7th, Arcade Fires at DTE. On Monday, July 9th, Janelle Monáe at the Fox. And Delisi was mentioning her show, too. I love her. I think she's an incredible performer.
And she's just so classy, too.
Super classy. She has a lot of Prince sounds in some of her recent songs. And I guess she was working with him.
She was on,
definitely tell.
Was it the Fun song "We Are Young" that she was the female voice on? It was one of the songs by Fun. I think it was "We Are Young."
Oh yeah, I think
that
you're
she
right.
was the voice on.
Yeah, great voice. So in music news, also on the 4th of July, Motown favorites the Temptations. They're going to be performing on the West Lawn of the U.S. Capitol. So there's a show on PBS. This is the 38th annual broadcast of it, A Capitol 4th. So people look forward to this every year. It airs from 8 to 9:30 on the 4th, and it includes a concert. It honors the troops, and it's like the best fireworks display you're going to see anywhere in the country.
One of the best.
Well,
Boston's pretty big too.
Okay, yeah, the originals, but I mean, it's on TV, but still, check out the Temptations. This is a nice story. We were talking about, arts in public schools, and so this kind of has a tie-in musically. So there's a young Detroit musician named Josh McClendon. He's a cellist, and he's 18. He's wanted to be a musician from a very young age. I think he was 3. He started playing the violin and then moved up to the cello.
You said a cello's too big for a 3-year-old?
Exactly. So he grew into it. He's graduated from Interlochen Center of the Arts this year. And yes, he left Detroit Public Schools. So even though his mom is a teacher in Detroit Public Schools, she's like, he's got this incredible talent and the public schools can't support it. So, so he's kind of wanting to be a mentor and a example to other kids that there is opportunities out there. There are opportunities out there, but you're probably not going to find it in school. So he went in 7th grade, went over to Interlochen, and because of that, he's received full ride scholarships to all but one of the colleges he's applied to, totaling $1 million in scholarships.
Wow.
Yeah.
That gives you like a whole semester in college now, doesn't it? $1 million?
Right, maybe a year. But he picked Juilliard. I mean, come on.
How do you not pick Juilliard?
Yeah. So it's just a further example that we've got it's not lack of talent. It's not lack of kids wanting to do these things. It's lack of opportunity in Detroit Public Schools. So I think it's important to have this awareness. Last year, for example, only 20% of Detroit Public Schools offered even a music class. Wow. So anyway, Josh really wants kids to know, don't give up if you have this and maybe start figuring out a way to get it back in the schools. So change might be on the horizon. The superintendent of DPS has committed $3 million this year to bring art and music classes back for K through 5 years. So hopefully that will keep growing.
That's awesome. How many? You got to sell a lot of glass sculptures to get to 3 million.
Well, exactly. So we need more people doing things to add to this.
On a serious note, we talk so much about the revitalization of this city and how much is going up. But if we don't invest in the schools,
exactly,
these
that's
are the
my point.
Generation that's going to be taking Detroit to even higher heights in the next
Right.
couple
And all the
decades.
local musicians I'm always trying to highlight and stuff, they got to start somewhere. We have to educate them and give them
And it's not
opportunities.
just math and science and the
Right.
STEM learning. I mean, that's obviously very important, but it's also this other stuff. It's also arts.
You
and
can find a
music
kid
and-
that's got a natural knack for something and nurture that. You never know what
how
it
far
turn
it could
into.
go.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Welcome to the D. Breathe.
Funny stuff.
Jag, let's talk about these stand-up comedy shows that are coming to town.
Couple shows at the local clubs this weekend. Mark Ridley has Dan Lamort. And Armor Comedy Showcase has Detroit native Nate Fritzen. He's in New York now, but started out here. Punchline Comedy Lounge in Southfield. Mario Torre from Comic View. He's been on Kevin Hart's The Next Level. And
Next Level, that's the thing that Jeff Horst is also going to be on.
part of.
August 24th.
When
yeah.
Kevin Hart singles out a comedian, gives them kind of like their own show.
I think because Kevin Hart had Heart of the City, where he went around and did all those showcases with 5-minute sets from Mike Jeter and the other guys that we had on the show, and then I think he handpicked some of his favorites, and now he's doing The Next Level, which is literally that. It's the next level and letting him do a longer set.
Very cool. Also, our buddy Dave Landau is at the Holly Hotel this weekend.
Very, very, very funny guy.
I know you're a big fan of his. I
am.
keep meaning to get out and see him. I may have to go.
It's
check
because
it
he's
out.
my height.
Oh, wow.
He's on your level.
Yes.
You see eye to eye.
Yeah, there you go.
And finally, a couple stories that at least I find funny. Well, this is kind of. Let me start with the funnier one first.
Okay.
Then I'll go to the dark one.
I'm kind of
second.
scared. I'm a little scared. What you got?
Okay, so a parrot landed on a man's shoulder at a Troy gas station over the weekend. And he realized when it landed on his shoulder that it was a domesticated, tame parrot. He didn't know what to do. And it literally sat there on his shoulder for 20 minutes until he said, I should do something about this.
What?
So he calls the police. It was a slow Saturday morning. Troy PD shows up with 3 cruisers, and so they get on their phones and do some Googling, and they find a website called, wait for it, I can't see it with a straight face, parrotalert.com.
This is a real site.
I looked it up. It's legit. If you lose your pet bird, you go to parrotalert.com.
Is it only parrots, or what if you have a parakeet?
It's all birds. It's just called
All
Parrot Alert.
the birds,
So
okay.
they found the owning family of this bird on parrotalert.com, and the bird was returned to its rightful owners in Sterling Heights, and everybody lived happily ever
That's
after.
such a feel-good story.
This one is not.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get dark. You ready
Here's
for this?
yes.
Don't tell me someone ate the parrot.
No.
Okay.
No.
Parrot.
Thanks, Homer. Woman got into a little altercation in Chesterfield with a Chinese restaurant when she had an issue with her order. She went back to complain about it, and she got into an argument with it's like a husband and wife and their son that own the restaurant.
Okay.
Gets into an argument with the wife behind the counter. The son is translating because the wife doesn't speak English. It starts to get heated, and then the husband comes out, and the woman attempts to go after the wife that owns the restaurant. So the husband goes to intervene, and this angry customer, Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield style, bites off part of his ear.
No. The customer bites off part of the owner's ear.
At this Chinese place in Chesterfield.
What?
I don't even have a one-liner for this.
It's part of the secret menu.
There it is. Thank you, sir.
This is the D.
Detroit.
This is the D. Breathe.
Oh, there it is. Another show in the can.
What a way to end it. Okay.
Anybody hungry?
Everyone.
Happy birthday, Becky. We
Thanks
got you
for
an
the
ear.
chocolate cupcake. I don't want to bite into it now.
Might be an ear in there. You never know.
I got you the ear-flavored cupcake. Don't worry.
It's gluten-free, but with ears.
Yeah, ears don't have gluten in them, do they?
No.
Mine do,
Not
but
even-
I
not
haven't
even the
cleaned
wax.
mine in a
Yeah.
while, so you never know. All right, this has been The Debrief, your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene. Want to say thank you to our guest, Drew Kups of the Michigan Glass Project. Go check it out, July 20th through the 22nd. And Delisi, always awesome, always fantastic, knows everything about music. You can listen to her when she hosts Essential Music on 101.9 WDET on weekends. And she's, of course, going to be a part of the Concert of Colors that's coming
That's
up.
gonna be an
Doing all
incredible
that
event.
cool stuff with Don Was. And check out our interview on Thursday with Emily T. Gale. You know her from the Say Nice Things About Detroit campaign.
She started it all.
She did.
Ever ago.
I'm wearing the shirt. You can go see it on Instagram right now.
Yeah, so we will find out all about that and all that's happened now that people actually are, what are we, like 50 years later, finally saying nice things about Detroit.
A little
We'll
more
ask her
consistently.
how she feels about that. Of course, you can find this podcast wherever you find your favorite podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Google, Spotify. While you're there, subscribe and leave a review. That helps other people find the show. We've got a mobile app. Download it, get it, listen to it. And if you want links to everything that we mentioned in the show, we send them out every week. And more.
And more.
Some bonus content.
The secret menu with the ear on it.
Yep.
That's in there as well. All you got to do is go to our website, thedebriefdetroit.com, and sign up for the email list. We will send you that email. Anything you want to plug, Becky?
Just keep looking on enjoythed.com. We've added some more tours, and I'm super excited to be doing murals tours coming up in the fall, and those will sell. So check out my website.
And what about you, Jag? You want to pimp your services?
Absolutely. I'll pimp all my services. If you want to be involved with podcasting, if you thought about doing a podcast, want to know anything there is to know about doing a podcast, I can get you started from soup to nuts and get the whole thing up and produced for you. jagindetroit.com.
All right, that's it for us. We're out of here. We're going to go blow some glass.
The Debrief.
Your guide to Detroit's arts and entertainment scene.